Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind states you're in, whatever conditions you're in. As always, you are welcome to my channel. Today I'm on a business trip today to Milton Keynes, and I'm here on the grounds of the Nihonzan Myohoji's Peace Pagoda. So Nihonzan Myohoji is a sect or school of Nichiren Buddhism, but I would say probably more broadly just general I'd say maybe Nichiren influenced general Mahayana, Japanese Mahayana Buddhism. But anyway, they're really beautiful. All their peace pagodas, and so I thought I'd shoot a video on the grounds today. So yeah, and what I was thinking about, I wanted to get in the picture the beings there, the guardian beings, because that's what I'm kind of thinking about. The sky looks pretty amazing too, with the Peace Pagoda in the background. So I just wanted to get that in there as well. So come on, we'll take a walk around the Peace Pagoda, and I'll have a little chat. So yeah, just have that in the background there. So yeah, there you go. You've got the Shakyamuni Buddha, Eternal Buddha there, and otherwise known as Amida Buddha, or the Buddha of beginningless past, the Eternal Buddha, which, as as in Jodo Shinju we know as Amida Buddha, actually. Anyway, and it's quite beautiful. They have, so I'll just walk around here. These reliefs kind of tell the kind of cycle of Amida, or not Amida Buddha as well, Amida Buddha's Shakyamuni, in the form of Nirmanakaya Shakyamuni. Yes, it is Amida, but anyway, the reliefs on the side tell the kind of cycle of Amida Buddha's, Nirmanakaya Buddha career. So I just thought I'd kind of show these as I'm going around. And what's kind of on my mind is, is the teaching career of Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. keep getting the real, the name of the real Buddha that it actually is, instead of saying the Nirmanakaya name, which is Shakyamuni Buddha. But anyway, and the reason that was on my mind was, or the reason I wanted to kind of shoot this here and show that relief of his teaching, the cycle of his teaching career, or in his life and his teaching career, but mostly these reliefs are of, I think, the sort of turnings, the turning of the Dharma, so the reason that's on my mind is because is when Shakyamuni would give sutras or give teachings, he'd first do it to kind of humans, but I mean, obviously there are occasions with the sutras where there's actually all of the realms are there all at once, for the sermon to be the sutra teachings to be delivered. But there are times where Shakyamuni would just teach to the gods. They would have their time, after teaching to the human realm, they would teach to the Deva realm. And I think it was in the wee hours of the morning or something like that, he would do this. And and basically, the reason I'm kind of starting with all of that, and incorporating the Peace Pagoda into my video, is that is basically just in general. Just I wanted to talk about Buddhist cosmology and how it makes the cosmology of our world, of our corner of samsaric existence, makes sense. You see elements. You see elements in all other mythologies. And I say mythology of other, it's their understanding of the cosmology of different cultures. So the cosmology of other cultures, and when I use myth, mythology here. I'm not saying that Buddhist cosmology is mythology. It's true. It's true teaching. It's true to our reality, such as it is in our realm of samsara. So I'm not, I just was, referring to other, the mythologies of other cultures in general, and their understanding of the cosmology of the world we live in. And anyway, when I've reflected on that, and I listen to a lot of different sort of podcasts and videos and people talking about cosmological things from their point of view, from their cultural or religious point of view, and on a variety of topics, let's say, involving a variety of topics, which I won't get into in this video, but but no matter what the religion, and I not just listen to these podcasts and these videos, but also just my own readings and explorations of different cosmologies in the past and present, through reading or internet research, quote unquote, or what have you. I've come to see elements, the elements of Buddhist cosmology in every other cosmology. It's there. It's very clearly there. But there's a big difference, and this is even going back to the kind of the the allegedly oldest stuff, quote unquote oldest, most ancient prehistoric stuff, like the Proto-European spirituality stuff, but every culture, the cosmology of every culture definitely has, you can see elements of the Buddhist cosmology, and I believe that because these events, the events of these cosmology and the reality of this cosmology, quote unquote samsaric reality, that is real, is true in a samsaric sense of the word, and they're picking up on it, but they don't. It doesn't quite make sense when you look at the cosmologies of other cultures and other religions. They get it kind of partially right. They have elements of it that kind of is that's partially right. But then the way it gets woven into their narrative, for their religious narrative or their cultural narrative or their mythological narrative, it's really skewed. It's like, really, that's what happened? Really, that's why they did that? Or that was the motivations of these particular gods, or these particular supernatural beings, or these particular, and it just doesn't quite add up. Like, if you, even within their spiritual or cultural or mythological narrative, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't add up. Whereas in Buddhist cosmology, it makes sense. There's a perfect sense to it. There's a perfect harmony and sense to where all the different realms of existence are in Buddhism, and how they fit together, how and their motivations and their activities and their the way of doing things, what have you. Everything makes sense. There's a sense to it in Buddhist cosmology that I don't see, that is across the board. Like you can see, oh yeah, that makes sense once you learn an aspect of the different worlds of Buddhist cosmology, whether it's the Dewas, or the higher, the very higher realms of the Rupaloka, or the Rupaloka, the form realm or the formless realm, or even the or the Devas that are in the desire realm, Devas, or the Bhuma Devas that are the in between, beings that exist actually in our, both in kind of, some of them can exist both in the kind of Deva realm and in our realm, in the human realm, and some of them cross over the animal realm and the human realm kind of thing, and the Dewa realm and the animal realm kind of. But there's beings that exist in our, and if you have a certain type of karmic causes and conditions, or a capacity to be able to see these beings, then you can, and people have seen them, like the Yaksha or the Sasquatch or the Naga, which I don't want to use the terminology that is the conspiratorial terminology, but the Naga are kind of the lizard-related beings, the reptile-related beings that are sentient, that are kind of have, that are kind of can be humanoid, can appear as humanoids. I think you know what I'm getting at. So anyway, I'm talking about whether it's that realm, those crossover Dewa realms, or the ghost realm, or the animal realm, or the ghost realm, or the hell realms. All of it makes sense when you learn the teaching about it, what the nature of those realms are, what beings do in those realms, with the type of consciousness mind stream that they have, and the causes and conditions that that cause them to be reborn in those realms. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. And what causes beings to be born in the human realm, it all makes sense. And there's a harmony and a sense to it that kind of is lacking in any other cosmology, any other mythology, any other whether it's from any other narrative, culturally or religiously. The only one that makes kind of that kind of sense is Buddhism. That's the only. And then when you look at the elements in other, and you see them in that context, you look at the elements of other religious or cultural mythologies, narratives, or cosmologies, you see in them, you can see the elements of Buddhist cosmology in them that it's kind of a pick and mix. They've kind of picked and mixed it into theirs. And I think the reason for that is that, like I said, that there is a very, it's very, in samsara, these are a reality. These worlds, this cosmology is a reality. It's just, they didn't have the Buddhist teachings in their religion or culture or time or place to guide that understanding, and it just kind of developed, kind of evolved into whatever the religion is, or the or the mythology is, or that spiritual or religious narrative is, because they didn't have the Buddhist, they didn't have, in their time and place, they didn't have that. They didn't have the Buddhist teaching to guide it. Anyway, and it just finally occurred to me. I was like, wow, I can see it so clearly. I can see it so clearly in these other cosmologies and narratives and mythologies now of other religions and cultures. I keep repeating that, but I just want to be clear on what I'm saying. I can see it so clearly. I'm like, wow, that they're talking about, the Asuras, when the Christians are talking about the fallen angels. They're talking about the Asuras, and they just don't get it quite right, and when they're talking about the Satan or Lucifer, they're talking about Mara. It's Mara. They just don't get it quite right. Even the whole thing with Adam and Eve, being tempted, by the serpent, that's a naga, and the sensuality, there's a sensuality about the nagas. So somehow that got wove into the temptation, and obviously I know there's more to it than that. There's the things about the tree of life and tree of knowledge of good and evil and all that, and that's to do with consciousness and other things. But anyway, just what I'm saying is it's there. I can see it in other cultures, especially like Proto-European stuff. Like you can easily see the remnants in that of certain things are referring to. It's like, oh yeah, that's the day was, or that's the this or that, anyway, and it makes me more how do I say it, comfortable, I guess, with, or more interested, I guess, in when I hear about other things. It's more natural now, that's what I'm trying to say. It's more natural now when I'm listening to or reading something about another, from that, something that's from a video or a podcast or an article or something in a book, from a different religious perspective other than Buddhism. It's more natural now for me to see, or more comfortable with, or comfort's not the word. It's more natural now. I just see the Buddhism in it. I can see the Buddhism especially in the cosmology, and it's just like, they don't get it quite right. If they do it, if they do about the Asuras, they know that this is why they behave that way and do that. And if you knew about Mara, you'd know, why the Mara or the Maras do what they do. And and they also don't have, because they don't have the knowledge or the teaching about Buddhism or Buddhas, they don't know how much the Buddha has influenced those worlds, how Buddhas and the Buddha and Buddhas have influenced those worlds, and changed them and altered them. Not every single one of them beings in every realm is a Buddhist, but there's definitely an influence there that's altered their worlds because of Buddhas, and because of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It alters them, how they behave. Whereas in other mythologies, all you have is kind of this good and evil, good versus evil kind of thing. This us and them, good versus evil, type of thing, or you have, you know, these beings from these other realms, or they're all evil, they're all demons, they're all, you know, instead of them being just, no, they're just beings from other worlds. They're just beings from other realms. That's, you know what I mean? In Buddhism, that's how we feel, that's what we see them. They're just beings in other worlds. They have their own situations and problems and issues, and you know, that they've got to deal with because of their karmic causes and conditions, and we have compassion toward them, and we apply we try to apply the wisdom of Buddhism to viewing them, and approaching them, or not approaching them, as the case may be. But you know, it's not this, you know, you see in other religions and cultures, it's kind of this evil, you know, good versus evil, or anything that's not in the human realm is just somehow evil, or it can only be holy beings and evil beings, or something like that. There isn't this kind of, in Buddhism, that's all calmed down. You know, it's all calmed down. You don't have to worry about this struggle of good and evil. You know, it's just you're the only battle, if you want to call it that, or issue, is your own involvement. You know, it's your own three poisons. It's your own ignorance, attachment, and aversion. That's the problem. You know, it's your own delusion. That's the problem. And it's the same for them. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing that's lacking in these other mythologies, or in the mythology. It might not be this good and evil, but it's just all about the struggle of the passions. You know, it's all about the struggles of the passions, and that sort of thing. It's whatever the gods and titans are up to and getting up on with, and you know, it's all based on the passions and things. Whereas in Buddhism, there's a whole nother dimension to it. You know, there's the whole dimension of karma. And I know of karma and you know, causes and conditions, and I know you have that in Hinduism, but in Hinduism it's very different. It's a very different interpretation of karma, first of all, and a very different way that all of that plays out. And you know, and they kind of, you know, to an extent, like the gods are sort of taken seriously, or are taken not, the gods are kind of the focus, the devas are the focus, rather than, you know, nirvana, rather than the goal being the ending of suffering, and so that has complications to it. That brings complications. So it's just what I'm trying to say is that with Buddhism, there's a kind of sense and sensibility to the way that the cosmology is taught and described and functions, and the whole point of it is teaching. The whole point of it is there's a teaching in it as well. It's not just teaching. I mean, these are actual realms and things, but where beings dwell and are reborn. But there is also another dimension of teaching about that as well. So it all fits together. There's a kind of harmony or sense to it that just is lacking in any other, like I say, cosmology, mythology, or religious, spiritual, or cultural narrative about these things. So, and I'm very grateful for that, and just really super grateful for that. So that's really all I wanted to say. So thanks for joining me, and Namo Mita Butsu.